Hello, hello everyone. We will now start. It's 6 o'clock, and all right. Let me just read here some messages on the chat box. Yeah, someone is watching from Kiblawan del Kiblawan, Davao del Sur. Hello, good evening, Miss to Elizir, and also good evening, Hanis and Glenn. Good evening to. He's also from Kiblawan, Davao del Sur. And of course, a message from our keynote speaker tonight, Ms. Danela Yaptinchan. Right. So tonight we have great stuff in store for you. So I hope everyone is ready to learn. And uh, and let me just start with a short introduction about why we have organized this webinar. Okay. By the way, welcome to Usapang Negosyante. I am Jonathan Francis or Jeff Cabral. I am a licensed financial consultant from Eastern Summit Life Insurance Agency Incorporated, the leading pro-life UK insurance agency in the country today. Also, I am associate wealth planner and associate estate planner recognized by the Wealth Management Center for Communications and Research. Finally, I own and run pesopod.com, which serves as my online platform in disseminating information relevant to my services. By now, everyone must have already embraced the new normal, but we know that despite these adjustments, there are principles in the business environment that should never change, and that includes a culture of business leadership that supports people-centered management. And our keynote speaker tonight is an expert thereof. She is the founder of The Secret Sauce, an organizational communications consultancy firm focusing on business strategies, culture change and alignment, coaching, and on-brand professional communication solutions. Before The Secret Sauce, she has been in different industries, which made her the exceptional woman that she is today. And let me just enumerate some of her noteworthy accomplishments. She was a management trainee at Walt Disney World in 1999 in Orlando, Florida. She was in front office at Carlton, Chicago in 2001 to 2003 in Chicago also. She was a project manager of World Eye Reports from January 2004 to December 2006, and a marketing manager in MICA, or Magsaysay Center for Hospitality and Culinary Arts. That one is here in Manila, Philippines from 2007 to 2008. She was also the managing director of Amigo Strategic Solutions Incorporated from 2008 to 2011 here in Manila, Philippines. Also, she was with Maestro publisher Homegrown Media from 2012 to 2015. She also was the head of sales and marketing Bridge Southeast Asia from 2015 to 2016, and a country partner manager of Syngene from 2018 to 2000. From February 2018 to July 2018. Now, being the business leader that she is, she has founded several companies. And that's why have personally invited her to talk in this webinar because of her experience and credibility. She co-founded CoLab, a pioneer in the co-working movement in the Philippines in 2011. And that lasted until 2013 here in Manila, Philippines also. She was the founder of Full Suite, a business process outsourcing company October 2009, and that lasted until December 2018. And she is a partner and chief curator of Spark.ph from 2016 up to the present. And as I said, she is currently the founder of The Secret Sauce, the organizational communications consultancy firm that I talked about earlier. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's listen to Miss Danela Yuiko Yaptinchay.
Um, Hi, good evening. Jonathan, gosh, you got me all nervous. So I'm going to start talking and let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so actually, sorry, I the funny thing is, I met Jonathan not through any of those endeavors, but through my art. A few up till a few months ago, he had a company called Quadra Camisa, and he and his partner James, they had been referred to me by some friends because I was looking for a way to print or to make these bags. So these awesome bags that ended up, and they did a superb job. I was really, really happy working with them. And in the end, what I was so pleased with was that these bags made it all over the world. In many, many places, people brought them all over, were kind enough to take pictures. And yeah, I don't know if Jonathan knows this story. So they're the reason I enjoyed working with them was because they seemed to be very clear about themselves, their purpose, their vision, what they could deliver, and they were excellent, excellent communicators, which is what really drew me and kind of sealed it. And so even over the last few months, when I needed help with something, uh, I called on him and he was able to help. Anyway, so that was my little side story and surprise story for all of you, about this, how we met. Okay, so presentation proper. I know the title's a little long, but I think the point was, as Jonathan and I got to know each other and got to talking about business and work, he also understood that this was a main interest of mine about working with the team and culture and building a company culture. So this is kind of the area that we're playing in, but I'll get into it some more later on. So I'll start with a story. As you heard, 21 years ago, I worked at Walt Disney World in Florida. So a man named Kevin DiGiamarino, he changed my life. I spent 3 months with Kevin, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, at the convention center, and I learned the ropes. I worked shifts and all that. So he was my first boss, Kevin, and he was extremely influential in molding my professional outlook and behavior. I learned a lot from watching him. I saw how he managed people with kindness and handled situations with grace. There's a lot of pressure then and there. Aside from my parents, because I was still in college at the time, Kevin was one of the first adults to show me that I had a lot of potential. He welcomed me, he showed me around, he taught me what to do, and then he trusted me to do my job. This gave me a tremendous boost in confidence. You know, Disney is often referred to as the happiest place on earth because they create unique and happy moments for both guests and cast members. Cast members, the name for the employees. Uh, and you really saw it, well, I really saw it happening and working, and like people would work together to give the guests these unforgettable experiences. And given the size of their operations, you can imagine that it takes a lot of teams with many moving parts and seamless dynamics to pull this off. So when I look back now, I'm completely amazed at all of that and how I was able to pick up from that. But also, just really on a personal note, I realized it was a lot about empowerment also. Um, and for me, it's key. This is key. Empowering people will elevate you and your business. And so, what is empowerment? Empowerment. When you empower someone, it's about helping them find and become the best version of themselves. In the context of work, this will, even if you focus on the individual, this will play into the dynamics of the entire team eventually, but it really begins with the individual. um, it's and why is this important? It's important because it will elevate the way they see themselves and feel about themselves, and then it will also in turn elevate their output and their work. uh, it can happen in many ways and forms, but at the bottom line is It's about being empathetic and creative, and it's just about being human. Okay, so there are three kind of umbrella ways to empower people. So the first one is make sure they feel seen and heard. The idea of this is loosely based on Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where he posited that a sense of love, belonging, and esteem are vital to a human being, after their psychological and safety needs are met. It's um, it's probably the easiest and most immediate thing you can do to put in practice, right? All of us interact with people who have like invisible jobs almost. Is it the messengers who have become so integral to our lives these days, the traffic enforcers, the street cleaners, the parking attendants, all these people who had to continue, or the bank tellers even, the people who had to keep going to work in the midst of a pandemic and try to survive. And it's such a hard life now. And so by just recognizing and acknowledging people, that's already a way to empower them. So not only will, all you have to do is smile and greet and express gratitude. And not only will it change your outlook in life, but you will start giving other people a boost of confidence also. Another way is to help them explore ideas and learn. Um, it's kind of like, and again, especially now and over the last few months, we've all been down and kind of in this mental space that's very heavy and very challenging to carry. So sometimes we may not see beyond our apartments, our houses, our walls, or our computer screens because it's just been too much. But by reaching out, talking to your employees, family members, whoever you're trying to empower at the time, all you have to do is have a conversation, help them see something else about themselves. Maybe you noticed that they're good at teaching. You can tell them, like, oh, I noticed that you're really good at explaining something. Maybe you want to teach so and so or someone else, how to work on spreadsheets or bake something in the kitchen. Excuse me. Uh, Even little things like that will really help what broaden their minds and see themselves from someone else's perspective. uh, and it does wonders for other people. So that's something, and it's just a conversation, really. I mean, conversations in essence are exchanges, and hopefully it's a journey that you can take with someone over the course of weeks and months, that you just work with them on something that you think is good about them. And the last one is give them room for experiences. So I actually think we in the Philippines live in a culture that coddles people a lot. Whether it's families that don't let their kids run because they might trip and hurt themselves, or managers who micromanage because they don't want anything to go wrong. By doing that, you're inhibiting someone's ability to learn and pick up and actually do something, and so they also lose confidence in themselves. So I think it's very important to give people responsibilities, hold them accountable for their actions, and allow them to make mistakes in a safe space. Uh, like when I was running Full Suite before, I used to tell my team, like, you're not going to get fired, okay, unless you do two things, like unless you harm other people or you do something illegal. Like, other than that, as long as you can explain your decision or make certain choices, we're good. I will always back you up. So for me, that was always very important in building this culture of empowered people. This is something that I really like from Union Bank. Here in the Philippines, one of their values is Ubuntu, which is to engage a community, because a person becomes human only when he belongs. So it's really trying to embrace. I like it because it's really trying to embrace and understand that there's more to a company and an organization than its it's infrastructure and it's technology and all that. I mean, Union Bank's a very forward-thinking company, but at the heart of it, I believe, and I've felt, because I am a customer of theirs, that they really put their people first, and they show this because they have things like learning, a whole learning platform, and the way they the way they kind of um, carry on with their business. If you see, they operate very differently from other banks, and I'll get to that later. Um, but I also like that they, which I'll get to in a bit, but they really imbibe their culture. So if they say they're technology oriented, they really are. I know that as an operation, they work like tech companies, like in sprints, in 3 week sprints, which is again very unusual. But anyway, going back to empowerment, the point is, um, the point I'm trying to make is people. It starts with the individual, um, and that's that's where all the work will go into. And I'm going to talk about the dynamics of a company later. But one of the other things I'd like to point out is you divide your time and not yourself. So when someone comes to work, and again these days, whether it's physically or not, they bring their whole selves. We all think we can compartmentalize, and even I used to think so, but now I don't think so anymore. Because we've all been there. If someone's sick, if I'm worried about paying the bills, if I'm doing this, I'm not at work 100%. So when you want to empower someone, you have to address also their entire being and their entire person. Uh, and so this is a little graphic of some of those aspects, right? So um, helping someone find their purpose, that's a big thing. And having them or helping them be able to understand and also recognizing these other parts of themselves, like their spiritual part, their physical part. Especially now, again, health is a major concern. uh, Emotional, we have all, you know it's been a toll on all of us, this whole pandemic. Same with the mental and financial. These are major aspects of a person's life, so you can't, I feel like you cannot ignore one or focus only on one. In fact, you have to attend to all. So I'm talking about for yourself and also for your entire team. um, and so again, people are at the center of all of this, and we will talk a little bit more about that after our break. But before we break, I wanted to leave you with this quote. I kind of like it because it just reminds us again of where the values are today and in society. So Lynn Twist, who is in the nonprofit sector, she said, the word wealthy has its roots in well-being and is meant to connote not only large amounts of money, but also a rich and satisfying life. So, um, being healthy and wealthy are really all about feeling whole and feeling complete and feeling secure as a person, and getting your happiness from there. Um, anyway, so that's it for this section, Jonathan. And then we can continue after.
All right. Thank you, Danella. And all right. Actually, it's not the first time that I heard your line. You divide your time, not yourself. Right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
yeah, we've heard before, and actually, I really admire this mantra of yours. Um, However, there are people, there are bosses who really want
Mhm.
the company to keep rolling because, of course, I mean, in one of your interviews, you said that sales is the foundation of a company. I mean, it will keep the company going, right? Sales. So,
Mhm.
what is your advice to to the bosses out there, to the business leaders out there? Um, because sometimes we tend to make people work overtime, and how do they? How I mean, how will they? I mean, how will they balance? I hope you are getting what I'm trying to
Yeah, yeah.
answer.
No, that's a great question. Of course, it's very valid. Again, it's not going to run if there's no revenue or sales or whatnot.
Mm,
And I know that people are not running a charity.
mm,
Um, but I actually don't think they're mutually exclusive. Meaning, okay, you set your targets, right? And it's not so much that you're forgiving if they don't hit the targets, but how do you get them to hit the targets? Maybe the better question, right? So what are your incentives? What are your carrots and sticks? So and how are so how are you getting them to it? So are you scaring them? Are you threatening them versus encouraging them? I think that would make a difference. Are you well, I'm going to tackle it later, but I think like how well do you know your employees and what are they really looking for? That's a big question. And you're right. I don't think there's one answer when it comes to, especially in the Philippines, because
yes,
we're so close to the poverty line, right? That
yes, yes,
people are very worried about security, period, feeding themselves, place to sleep. Um, and I can't even begin to really relate, to what that's like. Um, but I think at the end of the day, as a manager and as an owner, it's about being human. Again, like I said earlier, it's about knowing. I mean, just having empathy. So if some like okay, so let's talk about targets again. If someone is not hitting their targets, why are you can find out why they're not hitting their targets. It's not like, voila, they're not hitting the targets, you're out, right? Or three warnings and you're out. But why? Is it because, for example, they don't have internet connection or it's very bad that they can't make calls or do Zoom calls, and whatnot. And so and your business is based on something like that. So it kind of has to make sense first and foremost. Um, yeah, and just like if someone needs a break, um, why wouldn't you give them a break? It's a really vague, um,
yes.
example, but the point is, it's not that you have to pick about being nice and meeting targets. It's how do you get the two to merge together. That makes sense.
Yes, yes. Because I used to be a boss, as you said. I was the former owner of Quadro Camisa. So actually, this is a tragedy among business owners. I think we like people when they are efficient, like they're multitasking. Yes, actually, that is very good for us owners. However, sometimes we forget that they're also human. So I think the idea is, I think, is it always good if you're going to I mean reward them financially for going overtime, for working twice their
Mm.
function? Is financial reward always advisable?
No, no, not at all. But again, it depends on the person. I mean, everyone has different motivators. Uh, because okay, actually, someone could be even. It's not so much the money, but maybe sense of competition, sense of the challenge. Maybe that's it, and it just manifest. But the thing is, the reward does manifest in, let's say, a sale or sales. So that's why it seems like a financial reward because of the
Mm,
commission, for example. But it's
mm,
not really. Uh, yeah, you're. hmm, I don't know if it's uh yeah, okay. uh, you have okay. I think it depends on your company, what your business is, and you as a person also. Uh, I will tackle it later, but it's what are you building and what are you trying to
mm,
do? Because then I
mm.
think that will answer a lot of that also.
All right. Okay, thank you for that. Actually, we have a poll here. Let me just run a poll. Okay, to the participants here. Our first poll is, what type of boss are you? Or if you're not yet a boss, okay, what type of boss are you planning to be? Okay, let me just launch the poll. Okay, the poll
Okay.
will appear in your screen, and let me check the type of bosses that we have here on the audience.
So it's what you are or what you would like to be or what you think you are now.
Yeah, what currently, what type of boss are they, or what type of boss are they planning to be in the future? Okay, we have one. Okay, two.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, can you see the result? Are you seeing
Yeah.
the result? Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So six.
Mm-hmm. I remember. I actually remember I had some mean bosses too, and what I learned from what basically what I learned was what I didn't like, right, and how I did
Yeah.
not want to be. I had some really mean bosses. I was just lucky that Evan, my first boss, was great, so I didn't get scarred for life. uh, yeah, I think with those girls, like I probably lasted 2 weeks. It was still in college also, but still,
Later
yeah,
on, I have a related question about that.
great.
Right. Okay, we have responses here. Okay, I think this is okay. Right, let me just end the
Mhm.
poll. Okay, so 29% of the audience says they are visionary. So when you say visionary, they mobilize people toward a vision. And 29% also says they're coaching or develop people for the future. 14% says they are affiliative. They create emotional bonds and harmony. And democratic, they build consensus through participation. That's 14%. And lastly, 14% is their pace setting or expects excellence and self-direction, right? So later on,
Mhm.
Miss Daniela will be talking more about that, right? So Daniela, let's proceed to the next section. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Okay, in fact, that is a great segue. Give me a moment. Share. Okay, so this is a quote I saw recently, and I thought it was perfect for our talk today. So, leadership is not about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. If For those of you who might not know, Simon Sinek is a well-known speaker on the topic of leadership, and the first time I saw him was one of his TED talks um, about the golden circle, and it's about helping people find their why and or their purpose. So it's again along those lines, and I was greatly influenced by him. Um, but what I saw, yeah, from Kevin, my first boss, was that he taught me something about leadership that not many people understand, and I think it, yeah, you couldn't put words to it, but it was really how he dealt with people, and by leading by example, that really had an effect on me. And as Jonathan mentioned, I had a company called Full Suite, which was BPO, business, yeah, BPO of sorts here, local though. And we worked with small businesses to help them with their business permits and accounting and tax needs. I no longer, it's been about 2 years, I'm no longer involved, but the company does still exist. Um, and what I noticed, and for a time, what I took advantage of was like here in the Philippines, or I guess anyone, when you're setting up a business, you do all the other paperwork first. So we did that, you register your business and you do your taxes and you do your accounting and then taxes, just so that you're always above board and tracking your money. So there both kind of goes to Jonathan's question earlier. But and then the kind of like the last thing that happens is, oh right, HR. I mean, of course, in the beginning, the founder or the owner or even the managers, okay, we need to hire, but um, I think it's less systematic. I mean, I think it's changing now, but it was less systematic, meaning it was always like an afterthought. Oh right, we don't have a manual. Okay, we'll just fall back on the labor code or whatever. So like if you think about it, benefits like leave, sick leave, vacation leave, all of those things are bare minimum here. We're not, we're thinking of them as necessary versus how do we take care of our people. Um, and uh, Going back to the pandemic again, a lot has changed over the last few months. We've all had to reevaluate our situations. I remember clearly in March and April when things were were shut down, and people were just trying scrambling to figure out what to do, how to pay salaries, using up company savings. And I mean, absolutely, it was wonderful to see many owners and managers really do their best, pull out all the stops, do crunch numbers all night long to take care of their people financially. Uh, but yeah, I mean, now we're what, 7 months in, and the landscape has changed and it will continue to change even as things open up. But anyway, I mean, the point is, it's about how are you going to face the next few months and years. So when I think about kind of um, creating an environment that is suitable for you and your company, these are some of the things that have come up. Okay, so first is know yourself. And what I mean by this is don't own or run a company that is not kind of tied to your personality. Because if you're trying to be someone else, eventually you're going to get tired. Eventually you're not going to know what to do. It is very critical to know what you stand for, what you believe in, what your purpose is. So it will take a lot of reflection, thinking through things, and a lot of trial and error as well. Um, so, for example, I am not, I learned, well, yeah, over the years, I've realized I'm not the most uh, kind of, I'm not a micromanager, but to quite the extreme. So like I said earlier, I had told my people, okay, as long as you like don't hurt anyone and don't, do anything illegal, we're fine. So, but knowing that about myself, I had to surround myself with people who were much more detail oriented, process oriented, that type of thing, so that and build the people around me and the team and the company that was a reflection of me. That was very important, because then it felt good and to call in and start working every day, because I didn't dread it, because I enjoyed what I was doing and working with the people I brought on. Also, so that said, it will also help you when you build a team, like recruiting. What are you looking for? What personalities you need to help you. Um, Communicate expectations. This one is very critical. I'm sure we've all had that experience where we get frustrated because someone that doesn't get something right, and you're scratching your head like, I thought I told them. Uh, but for me, it begs the question of, so what did you tell them? If someone keeps getting it wrong or not understanding you, I would encourage you to re-examine the way you're saying something, what you're saying, how you're communicating. Do your actions contradict your words? Those things make a difference when someone is receiving information from you. So, and I think you cannot over communicate. It's for lack of a better word, it's not that you're making kulit, but you just want to make sure that they understand what your expectations are, whether it's timeline, whether it's, yeah, so urgency timeline, output, where are you expecting it? Are you expecting a full blown presentation, or is it draft okay? Can they run it by you? Little things like that really make a difference when you're communicating your expectations. Um, Again, even if I'm not a micromanager, I try to be clear about the expected output. So I don't care how you get there, but then when we're there at the finish line, we should be on the same page. This allows, for me also, this allows people some freedom in terms of their style and whatnot, unless that is also something you're expecting, certain parameters, to set certain parameters. Uh, okay, the third one, know your people. This might be one of the hardest things for me. I mean, management is no joke. It's really a full-time job on its own. Um, I'm a believer that you can't just hire people and expect everything to grow and blossom and be okay unless you invest your own energy and time in it. So knowing your people means, yeah, literally that, knowing your people. Like there's a tool that I use that has been extremely effective called one-on-ones. I'm sure you guys have heard this already, but so the way I practice it is a 30-minute one-on-one once a week with all of my direct reports. So those are the people I work directly with. Um, and how we divide the 30 minutes is about half the team member and then half myself. And it's literally time and space for you to talk about anything you want. Can be personal, can be professional, can be otherwise. But what this does is one, builds trust. Of course, it's confidential. It's between the conversation is between the two of you. It builds trust. It builds rhythm. It keeps you connected, and then it gets you understanding another person. Uh, and believe me, it works. I mean, I've tried it with people, that I wouldn't normally talk to, even if they're my team members. But it's been amazing. So it's a kind of conversation that will help you realize when, let's say, someone's grandmother is sick and no wonder they're always late because they've had to take care of family members, or they're distracted because they're not able to perform well because they're lacking sleep because they have a newborn or something, or yes, they're very stressed because they can't pay tuition in time. But on the flip side, you also understand why they're happy is maybe one of their family members came home, or they got engaged or something. So knowing your people will go a long, long way. And also getting to know them. So do they like bowling? Do they like dogs? Do they yes, are they driven by money? What are their own motivations? Because then you can begin to design the not only the culture, what plays into the culture, which is things like benefits, right? So again, we have mandatory benefits, but like as Jonathan asked, is money always the best benefit? No. Is it time off? Maybe, right? Because they have family members that they want to spend time with, or friends, or they want to go on holiday. When I worked at the Four Seasons or the Ritz Carlton, they gave us free nights to stay in any of their properties around the world. I mean, it was an amazing perk. But in fact, yes, it was a perk for us because we could stay in these luxurious hotels everywhere. But in fact, it worked in favor of the of the hotel chain, because once we understood the service that we were supposed to deliver, because we experienced it ourselves, we were that much more excited and able to deliver because we got it. It made sense. And these are hotel rooms we could never afford on our own. So, but then it just kind of went full circle. Like we enjoyed ourselves so much, then we would stay longer and we would work more and then get more free nights, and then also just be excited about giving someone else that awesome experience. Like locally, Sunny's, the brand, like they have eyewear and they've got makeup. They have a product allowance, so that all of their team members get to use and try and show off the products. Um, and of course, that also attracts the kinds of workers or the kinds of employees that they want to attract. So those are the kinds of things you can do. It doesn't have to cost you money. Obviously, Sunny's because it's product, okay, but the Four Seasons, let's just say they had, a hotel can have empty room nights. So it doesn't cost them much more to let you stay in the hotel. So just depending on your industry and your business, you could get really creative about what kind of benefits and perks you give to your people and what kind of environment you set for them. Because, ping pong tables and free meals and whatnot, it would depend on the culture of the company. Okay, next is seek feedback. This one is a tricky one because I think feedback has gotten a bad rap. And it's funny because even myself, when someone says, "Oh, can I give you feedback?" I find myself wincing and like kind of almost holding my breath because I'm afraid of what someone's going to tell me. But in essence, feedback in and of itself is a neutral thing. It doesn't. It could be good feedback, but anyway, point is, as a manager, as a business owner, always ask for feedback. This helps you improve. So whether it's internally or externally, ask for it, and use that to your advantage. Uh, and then also, I would say, keep in mind that people will actually give feedback whether you ask for it or not. But they will give feedback in places that you don't have control over. So whether it's a Google review, uh, what are the other, Zomato, Facebook, right? Instagram, they're going to say stuff. Glassdoor for employees, you will receive the feedback. And so the way you control it is to control or to be a part of the employee experience. Because then you know exactly what they're going to say, and you're not afraid of what they're going to say because you did your best with them. But yes, always ask for feedback. It's your friend, remember that. So remove your ego and just listen to feedback. Okay, and the last one on this list is foster a healthy environment, including conflict. And so I know Jonathan's ears perked when I said this before, like last week. It's had conflict. Okay, anyone in the creative industry will tell you that pressure and conflict bring out interesting ideas, and actually a lot of creativity. So conflict isn't about who's fighting and who is right. It's about uh, what you're all working towards. So if you have communicated your expectations and the company goals correctly, or clearly rather, um, if you're all looking in the same direction, and you just have different ideas about how to proceed or what to do, but they don't, but you find a way to kind of meld them, then it's going to benefit everyone. And just so this is a skill that people have to learn how to develop, like how to handle conflict properly, how to have civil conversations, and how to be very transparent. Excuse me. One of this Ray Dalio, who wrote a book called Principles. He did the first one, Know Yourself, and the last one, kind of talk about environment and extreme transparency. He wrote a lot about it so I think it's really interesting because he really did a lot of introspection first, and then decided, yeah, I'm not afraid to get my people doing the same thing and to be very transparent with my people. I know culturally here that is a very tricky, but at the same time, I know from experience that if you have built rapport with your team, if you really invest the time and effort and energy in doing your one-on-ones, starting off with very neutral or positive feedback, and then later on being able to give constructive feedback. And one of the tricks is to always ask people if they're ready. Like, oh, can I give you feedback now? And if they're in the middle of something, then they'll say no. And if they're ready, they'll say sure. And then you give it. And the funny thing is they've already given you permission to say it. So anyway, the point is that's the kind of environment that I would encourage people to foster. All that said, when I say know yourself, if you don't like that stuff, also don't try to do it because that would just be fake on your part. But I think if we started with the individual, it would slowly but surely affect the rest and really spread, right? So there's the individual, you as a manager and owner start working and really getting to know your people. Then the whole team starts kind of building its dynamic. And people don't have to like each other. They just have to get on and get their goal, start work on their goals together. They don't have to be best friends. But, once the team is in place and working, then the whole company is affected. Then, the industry starts to notice, and then you're, of course, almost at the same time your customers notice, and a larger market notices, then your brand is out there and it's good. um, One of my, I have an example of something that puzzles me a lot. So I have a favorite restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants here. I like it because of the food. So yesterday I went to pick up, I went to get takeout. Uh, and okay, I hadn't seen the staff in months, right? Because we've all been in lockdown. So I went, I picked up the food, and I knew he knew who I was. But my gosh, he still couldn't care less. And over the years, and they have been going there for years, they have just been unhappy. Like they're, you know, when when a team is unhappy. So all I'm saying is, whatever it is, maybe, you know, Jonathan's point, maybe they're sticking around for the money. I don't know, but, and I know specifically that I go there for the food, but they are just unhappy people, and I know that, and people can sense that. So it's telling of how you treat your employees. And I'm not, what's it called, I'm not singling out this guy, it's all of them. They're just not so happy. And so I feel really bad that they are going through life like that, and that's how you know, they feel every day of their lives. Okay, so I'm going to conclude by saying, by telling you the end of my story. So at the end of my summer internship, Kevin and the team gave me this lovely going away present, bracelet. I haven't worn it much since then, but I've kept it because it reminds me of that time in my life and the sense of confidence that it gave me. So a few years ago, I found out that Kevin had brain cancer and had passed away at my age, like now. And so that really shocked me, right? So although it's sad, I'm also very grateful that someone I met 20 years and 21 years ago brought out the best in me early on in life. He left me with much more than a bracelet. So for all of you listening, like imagine the impact you can have on someone by empowering them and creating a work environment in which they will thrive. A business is a living and breathing organism, so it constantly needs care. And as managers and owners, we are all responsible for this. So there's no one else but you who can improve your business. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Daniela. All right, so that was very insightful. And okay, I have questions, but let's answer first the questions from the audience. Right. So
Sure.
let us start. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, first question from yes, this is the first one from Miss Vivian. Okay, this is a very basic question. How do you deal with difficult people?
So I'm a firm believer in, it's kind of skewed, but okay. I'm a believer in that saying, you know, hurt people hurt people.
Mm.
So difficult people, there must be a reason they're difficult. And actually, let's clarify, like, what does difficult mean? Um, are they hard to get along with? Are they closed up? Do they not talk to you? Do they not share even if you ask? Uh, are they mean to you? You know, I'm not sure, right? So, but anyway, if that's the case, I would try to find out why. And again, this is definitely not going to be an easy or a quick solution. But usually, when you break down barriers, when you get to understand people, and when you make a connection, some of that kind of crumbles. Um, and I suppose, yeah, because you, if it's a bully, you know, like at work, if it's a mean girl, if it's a queen, you know, things like that, there's usually a reason why, and it's probably very deeply seated, rooted, but still, there's a reason why. So, and if that still doesn't work, mm, maybe they're just not a fit if you're talking as a manager, about someone in your organization. But yeah, maybe they're just not a fit. And there's nothing
Mm.
wrong with that. Maybe they just belong in another organization. So let's just say that's the case. Then maybe you help them find another job,
Mm.
find something more suitable, whether it's a position or a different company. That could be a win-win for everyone.
Right. Actually, I have a related question, but you answered it.
Yeah.
You have to help them find another job. Oh, but of course,
Yeah.
you have to do it legally, of course, or with
Yeah.
dole. Yeah. But with regard to that, if they're difficult, the first thing that you should, what is the first thing that you should do in relation to the other people being affected, the other employees that being affected? Do you tell them, do you tell that person in front of other people? Or does it always work that you talk to him first one on one and then you
Mm.
isolate him first? Or do you talk him upfront that he's doing something bad in front
I
of
think they
other
actually,
employees?
yeah. No, so okay. So one is if people start telling you that, like there have been there are incidents, then of
Mm.
course it's best to look into them, right? And then yeah, at the same time, take the person aside, get to know them. Okay, if they are your direct reports, so you work with them directly, then
Mm.
great, that's easy. Then you just start talking to them. Talk to them more, talk to them about work, and then start talking to them about other stuff. Uh, like okay, if they were doing good work but just not getting along with their peers, you but you can kind of start with that, like you're doing very well, and just leave it at that. But then when it starts affecting the work, maybe then it becomes about the work, you
Mm.
know uh like, oh, but you're working, but then your teammates, or sorry, or I think you could still keep it in neutral and kind of keep it about the work.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, at some point it's going to be about people. But I think it's very hard to judge if you don't know your people,
Mm.
because at that point it's just a he said, she said kind of situation. I'm sorry, I'm not getting into it because I feel like there are too many nuances
Yes.
to kind
Yes.
of make a sweeping statement about no, fire the person around. So
Yes. Actually,
yeah.
that makes our, I mean, that makes the job of the business leader very, very difficult because he has to consider a lot of things, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question
Yeah.
from Elizir. Um, how to handle I mean, I think this is related. How to handle the attitude of employees? What kind
Actually,
of
I'd like to,
bad attitude? I think.
I guess, but okay, but see, then it begs the question is how did they get it? How did they join the company? And why is it all of a sudden all these employees have a bad attitude? Um, it's like, is it me against them? Is
Mm.
it them against the company? Uh, for me, it's like you'd have to pull way out. Building a culture really stems from, I mean, starts from your recruitment process.
Yes.
Because who are you bringing in? And why are you hiring them? And if you have people with attitude, there's so many questions I have. When did it start? Who else is involved? Like, who are these other people? Because, and also remember, it's very human to to be like me against the world. What if it's two people, not 10? Is it two BFFs in the company who are just doing that? Then it's very easy to isolate and deal with it versus 100 employees and they're going to go on strike.
Right.
So okay, and let's just take that. If they're going to go on strike and they say we're tired, we're overworked, if you don't listen to that, that's also a problem. Uh, because once you say no, 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 we're paying them fairly, we're paying them overtime. Yeah, but if they don't see their families and then uh, they're just tired, they're physically tired, they don't get enough sleep, is that reasonable on your part also to insist? Um, yeah, I mean, and again, like you said, there's so many factors as a business owner. So then Is it because you're not meeting deadlines, and why aren't you meeting deadlines? Is it because you overpromise? Like, there are way too many factors. So when you say attitude of employees, I would still go back and look at the managers, management, owners,
Mm,
because they're only react. If you think they have an attitude, they're probably only reacting to you.
all right, I
That's
agree.
my take.
Right. Actually, one thing I learned from you when I worked for you is you set the culture in your company. It's your company, so you have to set the
Yeah.
culture that you want, that works for you. It's a
Mhm.
little selfish, but it's your company. You're paying for
Yeah.
capital, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
If it runs
Hmm,
away from you, then what happened?
hmm,
Right? I mean, at some point, that'll be all you can, like, if you have a big enough company, that actually can be all you focus on.
hmm,
Like, because you have other people doing other stuff, right?
right. But of
Anyway.
course, the answer is here. There are a lot of factors to consider, but we have to really balance things. Okay. I hope we are not taken in a bad context here, right? Another question from Glenn. How can I? Okay. How can I possibly start a business? I think let's okay to align that in our topic. I think let's rephrase that. How do you know that you're ready to run a business? Is that okay if I rephrase it like that?
Yeah, you don't.
No, no.
Short
Okay.
answer. You
Okay.
don't. You
Okay.
just have to do it.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jonathan, you know this. You just do it. And then if you fail, you fail. Or it is the thing, it's not even failure, right? If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. This one, right? But that is, isn't that the isn't that a characteristic of an entrepreneur? Is that
Mm,
you will start again and you will start again. Um, Even if it hurts every time, even if your heart's broken every time, you're just going to start again and you're going to try different things. Yeah. So, but well, when I was running Full Suite, or no, actually post Full Suite, because when I was running Full Suite, I had to be like completely above board and legal. But now that when people ask, like, do you want, how do I know if I'm going to start a business? You usually have to try something. Uh, and in my head now, when it gets to a certain size or um, operation, and operation, I'm using it very loosely, right? I mean, okay, if you're baking cupcakes in your house, right, and selling
mm,
them, uh, at what you just kind of have to know at what point does it become a business versus, oh, I'm selling, I don't know, 20 cupcakes a week, right? Or maybe it's just kind of fun still and you're earning a little money. But you're going to know when that point happens that, okay, I'm in.
I'm sorry. I think there's something wrong with the audio.
Oh, hold
All
on.
right. Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
no,
It's okay
at
now.
some point you're going to know when you're ready. Or if, and then, or at some point you're being, okay, I'm done baking. I'd rather not. Then that's it.
All right.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Another one from Glenn. In your company, many people can work. How do you handle their attitude? I mean, it's the same, right? How do you handle the attitude of the employees? So I think that was answered already. Okay. Another one from
Mhm.
Fels. I learned the hard way that you can never be friends with your boss. You can't just simply always trust voicing out what you think or feel, whether it's work related or not, without worrying it would be used against you. Now I'm a business owner myself. How can you empathize and foster trust between you and your people without crossing the lines or stepping on boundaries? I strongly believe there should still be a line drawn. How can you eliminate the barriers and build harmonious working relationship without being abused or taken advantage of for both parties? Hugot na.
Yeah, wow. Well, no, so I agree. You don't know. You Every situation is different. Every person, every relationship, they're all different. I've definitely been burned by people in the past, but I suppose deep down inside, I still believe in the goodness of humans. So for sure, there are moments when I don't want to have anything to do with other people, but at the same time, for the most part, um, it's it's something you do. You connect with other people.
Mm,
Okay, just looking at your comment. So okay, so again, I'm gonna say you're just going to be you're just gonna have to do what's comfortable with you. If this is great to reflect on, like for example, if you think it's okay on like okay, so as the owner or manager, if you're comfortable talking about your dog, your children, uh, then kind of know where that line is for you. Because it's still kind of small talk to an extent, right? Oh, yeah, there was school today, or no, I'm so tired from homeschooling. I think a lot of people can relate to that now.
mm,
Um, let's say you're okay to talk about, all the celebrities that you watch. That's a really kind of shallow connection that you can make in conversation, but it just kind of gives you that yeah connection. Um, but yeah, if you're in your mind, you don't want to talk about how you spent your weekend, but that's still your time. Then don't do it if you're not comfortable with it. But at the same time, also don't expect them
mm,
then to share with you. One of the other most influential people in my professional life, personal and professional, is Brene Brown. So she's a researcher, and she researches shame, and she talks a lot about vulnerability, and that's it. You're vulnerable, and there, unfortunately, the point is there's no guarantee of anything. There is no safety net that someone's not going to screw you over. Um, I I honestly don't know like what else to tell you in that sense. Like you're going to have to do it.
mm,
And that again, if you have the wrong, if there are people in your company who are going to cross that boundary and barrier, or like, or betray you, okay, if there's a lot of people who are going to do it, I think the organization has a problem. If it's one person
mm.
who does it, then it's they're the one person who does it. They're the problem. But if it happens to you many times, you're going to have to reflect on what's going on, because then there's a common denominator there somewhere, um, and it might not be them. you know, uh,
Yes. But
so
actually,
so so yeah.
it's part of starting a business. I mean, being ready to start a business, you have to deal with people. You have to be ready
Yes.
with these kinds of things, and it's actually one of the hardest
Yeah.
part of running a business. People are the hardest part of running a business, I think. Do you agree? Do you agree?
I, I agree, and that goes to Gertrude's question.
Yes. What is the most challenging part in running your own business?
It's it's not at all glamorous. It's really not. Uh, I I had a client recently that very glamorous. I know business, very fancy, and the owners and the managers, everyone. I mean, looked so good, picture perfect from the outside, yeah. And then, but internally was such a mess. And sadly, I realized it was because the people weren't being taken care of. Um, yeah, like management is really a full-time job, and it's not managing the process, it's managing people, because that's why you hire them, right? You hire them to get stuff done, because you need help, and otherwise you should do everything yourself. um, but the yeah, what I had witnessed was that some of the managers thought management was delegating, just giving them stuff to do, and then burning them out, and then and then just hiring again. So they were like
Mm.
going through people like it was a factory or something, right? Like just using up like a finite, infinite resource, not a finite resource. They were really just using up people and then HR hire, HR replace, HR like the turnover was ridiculous. Um, but it's because the managers were not nurturing their people or taking care of them. I don't think they knew them. I don't think they were interested in them. And again, it's not that you have to be, be different and be super interested in them. But if your goal is to produce results, you're going to have to do something that works. And for me, what's proven is you just get to know them a little bit, and you share a little bit of yourself. Because like even then, guys, I have a headache today. Can we reorganize? I mean, that's for me as a manager, Sharon. It really helps because then they're going to know how to approach you, how to talk to you, um, or say, okay, I know you have a headache, but then this is really urgent. Can we talk about it? There's a certain level of transparency and sharing that really helps. So when it comes to dealing with people, uh, yeah, that you're just going to have to do it.
Okay. I think that is the last question from the audience. Now, I just have a
Mhm.
one last question. What is, I think you asked this to me once. What is your
Yeah,
take on,
yeah.
what is your take on tough love when it comes to leadership? What is your take on tough love?
Oh, okay. Actually, if you're clear about your expectations from the beginning, it's not tough love. If you have to, like do something drastic. So, okay, set a deadline. Okay, so we have a project. Our deadline is, in a month's time, 30, in a month, we have to do X, Y, Z. And in 2 weeks in, you're noticing that someone is not pulling their weight or checking off their tasks, right? Uh, Again, if you know your people and if you know what they're up to, it won't come as a surprise. That's
Mm.
first and foremost. Because if you talk to them every week, then it's not a surprise. In fact, you would have caught that in week one, right? Okay, fine. Week two, Jonathan dropped the ball, like, hey, how come he's not answering phone or something? Uh, or he has not, yeah, he's been late with all of his submissions. You know, but it's already been clear that okay, you've been late in your submissions, but then, well, we're still 2 weeks away. So then, okay, Jonathan, by next week, uh, you should have caught up. And then by the week after, we should be on time. So come week three and week four, if you're still not hitting the mark, it's been very clear the entire time. Uh, yeah, we are very good. Filipinos are very good at the opposite of tough love, right? Sige na, pagbigyan na, like there. And so, why are we surprised when people don't take us seriously? It's because you're the one who's like, like letting it go. So for me, it's not even tough love if you were clear and professional about it from the very
Mm.
beginning. Does that make sense?
Ah, yes.
That answer
Right.
your question? Yeah.
But and I don't have any answer to that because I think I have to be in business for a longer time before I can give a credible answer to be, if tough love is good. Okay, I think that concludes our question and answer. Or do you have, Daniela? Do you have a last message to our audience tonight?
I do not. Just thank you so much for attending, everyone who did attend. And I think Jonathan Naman shared our contact details, so feel
Mm.
free to reach out anytime. Yeah, just
All
you.
right. Okay. And again, I would like to thank Danella for sharing your knowledge and time. And we learned a lot from your insights. And being a leader is, as I said, not easy. And everyone should know that this is from the powerful statement of Simon Sinek that you shared earlier. Leadership is not about being in charge, leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. So let's live by this. And everyone, let's support the secret sauce. Later on, I will be sending an email containing all the contact details of Miss Danella and the Secret Sauce. And also follow her Facebook page at the Secret Sauce Lab. And also follow my page, Pesopod. And again, this is Jonathan and Miss Danella Yaptinchai. Have a pleasant night, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye, Jonathan. Thank
Goodbye.
you.